sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Live from New York, it's the show that's starting to believe in Spencer Rattler. I'm on Rattler watch.
That's just you.
Someone else, I read it. I'm early on Rattler.
I don't hate Rattler.
Okay.
Bro, just because some guy on The Odd Couple said it.
7 to 10
He's
Eastern.
a
You
scout
guys
who's been
keep-
right on some things.
Has he been
Right
wrong
on
on a bunch of
something.
things?
Second hour, first things first today. Could Brock Purdy eventually demand $65 million
God, I hope so.
in a few years?
Wow. No, in 1 year.
Well,
in 1 year.
A few months. Today, could no, I'm sorry, I'm going to read it twice. Meanwhile, an update on LeBron's free agency and the shocking news that LeBron obviously is not going to Phoenix to play for the minimum. Rich had to go on the record. People at Phoenix like, oh, I could have sworn.
Oh, they
going to get
thought
the
it was in
second best
play.
player of all time
Believe
for
me,
nothing.
They thought it was in play.
Give me a break.
The Suns.
Like, what if we paid Bronny $30 million? Is it happy trails to the Cowboys QB?
Right, don't draft him. Give him a max deal.
Happy trails for the Cowboys QB after this year. Well, maybe according to Bill Barnwell, who dropped a Dak opus today. I basically got an assignment. I was still reading it. The script's written. I said, no, I'm on page 5. But when it came down to whether the Cowboys should actually move on from Dak, Barnwell was clear. No. Took me 20 minutes to get there, Bill. So what are the chances that this is Dak's last year? It's actually an excellent article.
It is.
Dak's last year in Dallas.
I think the chances are very good. And I would not have said that before because I'm like, look, is Dak a top 5 guy? No. But he is a franchise quarterback, legitimately good. And I do think, barring, some of his problems in the playoffs, I think you can win a Super Bowl with him as your quarterback. So, of course, I would think they keep him. But when I look at the way they've handled things this summer, the time to sign him was earlier. Mm-hmm. All right, the price probably wouldn't have been as high, and you would have been able to sign some other players to make your team better. Now that time has passed, and they seem clear. It seems clear that their thing is it's a prove-it year for you, Dak. And if you prove it, and I think proving it probably is getting, and this is low, at least to the NFC title game. At least an NFC title game. It might be get us to the Super Bowl, and then we'll pay you. But if they get to the NFC title game and they pay Dak, and they pay CD, and they pay Micah, then how are they going to build a team?
Well,
and you're not even in the Super Bowl
By
yet.
the way, that's the case whether they get to the NFC title game or not.
Right, but if you get, I'm saying, so that's why I think it's almost get to the Super Bowl. Because if you get to they're always because they're the Cowboys. But get to the Super Bowl, at least you can, feel like we're close. But the bottom line is I think they've put Dak in a prove-it year with a roster that is not as good as it was last year. I think the rest of the NFC has improved, all right? And so I think if it doesn't go well this year, as far as deep in the playoffs, I think they're looking at San Francisco and saying, let's go that route, put a bunch of great talent around, I think, Trey Lance.
Okay. I'll put it at 1%.
Wow.
He's not there?
All right, Danny, finally we have someone on the show that actually gambles, too. That's a 99-1 booked.
Yeah, no.
Booked.
All right.
Go ahead.
Why would you, 30-year-old quarterback, coming off the best season of his career, runner-up for the MVP, who's won 12 games 3 years in a row, let him leave for nothing? There is no precedent, no comp. It's never happened in NFL history. It's never happened before.
think Nick can answer.
I think because they think he's not going to be worth the money. But go ahead.
But guys that are right in his realm have been paid basically the same, or guys that he's been better. Is he much worse than Jared Goff? No, I would say he's better. Is he much worse than Trevor Lawrence? No, I would say he's better.
Oh, how dare you.
And the numbers, by the way, prove that out. And so I think at some point Dak has a ton of leverage. They negotiated poorly. He'll be the first $60 million per year per man in NFL history, $60 million per year man in NFL history. And this Trey Lance thing that's getting a lot of love online, that gamble, first of all, they didn't pick up the fifth-year option.
But we knew they weren't going to.
I understand, but they didn't commit to him in any way. The numbers would be so stark on what Trey Lance has accomplished in the NFL versus what Dak Prescott has accomplished in the NFL. It would be the biggest gamble that we've seen. Trey Lance, I think he might be good. He's played in 4 games. He's won 2 of them. He's fine. Dak Prescott is a legitimate, you say he's not top 4 or 5. Okay, he's definitely top 10. and he's in his prime. Moving on from him
But you
for
don't
Trey
think the
Lance
way
would be
they've
crazy.
acted
But it would
makes
be-
it
is
look
crazy.
like
Hold on.
it's a
You know what
proven
it
year?
would be like? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
It would
I'm
be
going
like moving on from Kirk Cousins for J.J. McCarthy, whose side of the screen would be all blanks.
He's 35 years old.
Right, but my point is,
5 years older.
It would be moving on from a veteran that you think has peaked and is now costing more than his production for essentially a rookie. Because Trey Lance is younger than Michael Penix.
Yeah.
He is younger than Bo Nix. Like, I have been called the Trey Lance guy. I don't think that's fair. What I said, I picked him to make the Super Bowl.
Well, then there you go,
Right,
Trey Lance
but that
guy.
was because I believed the Niners could literally make the Super Bowl with anyone at quarterback, proven by this past year. But that's neither here nor there. And so I would ask this: if let me show you some numbers. If these were Bo Nix's first 2 career starts, those were his numbers, would you be optimistic about what he could be?
Well, he had a lot more talent than Bo Nix.
Okay, Michael Penix.
Trey Lance.
His first. Michael Penix got a ton of numbers, right? Because that is Trey Lance's first 2 starts. So now let's just show you that is his first 2 starts. His rookie year numbers, we can show you them in their entirety. It's 6 games, but that's a little misleading because 2 of the games he played 1 snap. He played essentially 2.5 games. He was on a good trajectory. And he was. And then he played in this. We can show it to you. He played in the monsoon game. Brew, hold on. Let me. What, Brew? What are you
Just
grabbing?
go ahead.
You're trying to move.
do your thing.
Please don't make this a Brock
Do your
Purdy
thing.
conversation.
No, I'm just.
I'm gonna. This game. No. I'm just telling you. He had a rookie year where he played well when he got the opportunities.
But then
He played in the monsoon and then he broke his leg. The point is the idea that he is why are you doing it?
You acted like Trey Lance was something special in San Francisco?
No. I am acting like he has been written off as a 0. And I think that there is no evidence that he's a 0.
But Kyle Shanahan is the quarterback genius, and he's like, I can't
He
make it
got
work.
beat out by Sam Darnold for the backup.
So that
job.
part, for the record, he clearly got beat out by Brock Purdy. Now, I think for that side of the table, that's no longer an indictment because you guys think Brock Purdy's excellent.
Yeah,
the Sam Darnold thing I reject because if Brock Purdy is going to be your starter, you need to have a backup that runs that type of offense. They were running a totally different type of offense for Trey, and so that made more sense. That wasn't about, do you think that Trey Lance is worse than, the Sam Darnold is better than Trey Lance?
I mean, it's hard to measure Trey Lance. What I saw was not very impressive.
And so the point that so to get it back to Dak, I think that if Trey Lance, I think that the Cowboys are stuck if they give Dak Prescott $60 million a year, and there is a possibility that they can get 60% of Dak Prescott for 5% of the cost.
That's where
And that is massively valuable to keep the rest of the players.
Danny, that seems to be how they're looking at it, though.
Listen, teams do not voluntarily choose to pass on top 8 to 10 quarterbacks in their
Then
prime.
why has he not been signed?
Because they're doing a bad job.
Well, but then doesn't that mean they might, I don't know that.
They might not want to pay CeeDee Lamb.
Can we take those stupid goalposts off the table?
And what chance? What chance?
I mean, it keeps happening. I'm just saying.
What chance would you say Trey Lance is going to be better than Dak Prescott ever?
Oh, I would say it is not a good bet, but I don't view it that way. What chance does is Trey Lance and 15 to $20 million a year players that you can have better than Dak Prescott and none of those players? If Trey Lance is just Geno Smith, the answer to that is yes. If Trey Lance is Geno Smith now, then yes, the answer is yes.
And I think, Danny, they're saying one more choke job in the playoffs, and
I don't think they're paying him before the year. That's the.
They have no rights to pay him then after the year.
Right,
He just
which
becomes
is
a free agent.
I know. Dak and Belichick and the Giants.
Okay.
You want
Cowboys.
this, Nick? You want to?
I
do. Give it to me. Thank you.
8th best Super Bowl odds.
Mistake by me.
That costs $4. Chiefs and 49ers tied at 1, then the Ravens, then the Lions, Bengals and the Eagles, who are predicted to snap out of their supernatural funk, then the Bills, Texans, finally the Cowboys, and then the Green Bay Packers. Or is Dallas over, under, or perfectly rated here, bro?
Oh, over. Look, I'm not high on Dallas. I think their roster got worse. And where will morale be? Dak, we know won't have a contract. CD might. It could be on the board. I'm not going to say that.
On the board?
But I'm looking at these. Look, I think Green Bay is better than Dallas. I mean, last time we saw them, they smacked them upside the head. All right, Houston, I think, is one playoff game in Dallas, no less. And Green Bay, I think, will be better. Jordan Love, there's no reason to think he won't play at least as well as he did at the end of the season. So I think it's overrated, and Dallas is too high on that.
I think they should have the exact same odds as Philly. I don't really understand why.
Exactly right.
I don't understand why those teams have moved a little bit. Yes. They were the exact same in the NFC East until like 2 weeks ago, and so it's been reflected now in the
Philly
Super Bowl
added
odds.
Saquon Barkley, and Dallas added Ezekiel Elliott and lost Tony Pollard.
Right, and Philly lost the leader of their team and a first ballot Hall of Famer at center. The Cowboys lost Tyron Smith, but they were dealing without him for parts of the last 2 years. That is, to me, I don't look at either NFC East team is a viable Super Bowl contender at this moment. I don't understand the argument for why there should be more optimism with Philly.
Correct.
Philly got smacked just as embarrassingly in their playoff game, and it was part of a 2-month spiral. Philly, to me, there are real questions about Philly's quarterback. If there's questions about Dak, there are certainly questions about Jalen Hurts.
Dak is better than Jalen Hurts.
Well,
he is?
Yeah.